Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about fluids, and this is actually take 4. I tried to do this the other night and forgot to turn the mic on one time, and then my battery kept dying, so I gave up. But yeah, so fluids. This anything liquid I use pretty much, or liquidy on the quads. Start with gas. I use Sunoco standard 110 in all my machines. Even if it's a desert bike with 12.5 to 1 compression, I still use race gas. And you know, all of the stuff that I use, again, I'm not going to say it's the best. You guys use whatever you want, but I use it because I've talked to, you know, a bunch of the best builders. You know, I get all my information. I don't take information from Facebook groups. Take everything you read with a grain of salt. This is all from, you know, real world racing experience and guys that know what they're doing. So I've used BP before. I switched from BP not only because out here in LA it's crazy expensive. It's $98 per 5-gallon pail plus tax. This I get for $75, which is still crazy expensive. So I'm looking at getting a 55-gallon drum in here. But I switched to the Sunoco for cost and because I heard that the BP had changed their formula and it was separating on guys with the premix. So again, use whatever you want, but you know, I just run race gas and everything. For the 2-stroke, for premix, Caster 927, I mix it at 32 to 1, so that's 4 ounces per gallon. And you know, for mixing, I just went to Home Depot, got one of these paint things. It's got all the measurements on it, so 20 ounces, full can, good to go. And I've never had an issue with that. I know there's an issue with some premixes in cold weather. Obviously, I don't need to worry about that in California, but that's something to definitely research if you live in a cold climate. 85 weight MTL endurance I use in the transmission, in the clutch. I started with 80 weight, and for most guys 80 weight is fine, but since I'm running in, you know, 50-minute races, running the machines hard, I switched to 85, and again, that was a recommendation from one of the builders, just to keep that viscosity a little bit thicker when you're running it hard. In 450s, 4 strokes, I run 10W40 Maxima both sides. There's really no reason to use anything, you know, different oils. 10W40 is perfect on both sides. This is proven in, you know, the Baja 1000, Baja 500, all of the endurance races. You know, Duncan boys, Leonard Duncan told me to use that, and how many championships do they have in desert races? So I'm not going to question it. For coolant, I use Maxima Coolant All. You can use engine ice, water wetter. I use the Coolant All. Again, no issues with heat. All my bikes run oversized radiators, but you know, I've never had an issue with any of them. If it's running hot, then I know it's probably running lean. So adjust your jetting. If you're jetting and everything else is running correctly, you really shouldn't have heat issues. It's either, you know, the motor wasn't built right, or you're running lean or something else like that. You know, so I've run OEM radiators and had no issue. By the way, I'm not sponsored by Maxima or anything. I buy all this stuff myself. You know, I don't get any support on that. Anti-seize. I use the anti-seize on almost every bolt, every frame bolt. Where you really want to use it is where a steel bolt comes in contact with aluminum, because just like metals will corrode, and when bikes sit for a long time, that's when you're going to have issues getting stuff out. My hybrid right now, I can't get the case saver bolts out. They're seized in there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I tried to get them out a couple times, and I started stripping the Allen head, so I left it alone. Probably when I do a bottom end rebuild, I'll be able to get them out by heating the cases, but until then, I'm going to run that aluminum case saver and hope I don't break a chain, because I don't like the aluminum case savers. I run poly, heavy duty poly, or ultra high molecular weight case savers. Tri-flow. So Tri-flow I use on all my roll arms, in the spherical bearings, for even on my Gibson arms, and this was recommended by Jed. This is what the roll guys use. So every wash, you know, I have my regimen that I do. After every wash, I lube the chain, and I squirt some of this in even in my Heims, and you know, I have no squeaking issues, or you know, they still feel great. This Blaster silicone lubricant, and it doesn't have to be this brand, but I use this for tire installation. Spray a little bit of this around the bead, it'll pop right on. I even use this on my 37-inch tires on my Jeep. You know, they're bead locked, so I can get one side on and literally just spray the town and jump on it, and tire pops right on. So instead of fighting with it, especially newer tires aren't an issue because they're nice and pliable and soft, so they pop on easier. But if you have older tires, they get stiff, and you know, sometimes they're a bitch to get on. So recommend that. Cable lube. Whether it's an old cable or a brand new cable, I use cable lube. Especially every brand new cable that I install, I usually start with new, fresh ones at the beginning of the season. I'll squirt some of this down in there a few times, move the cable back and forth, squirt some more down, and then I'll install it, and gravity will take the rest, take it down the rest of the cable. If you guys that are buying old bikes, if the cables seem good, you definitely want to use some cable lube, because even a brand new cable, I don't feel, you know, if there's no lube in there, you're not getting the smoothest action out of it. Brake fluid, .4, doesn't have to be Prestone, but even on your reservoirs you'll see .4 because it has a higher heat tolerance than .3. I think .5 is even higher, but I don't think there's a need in ATVs for that. So you know, I use that in all the bikes. Chain guard, for chain lubes after every wash I use this the Maxima multi-purpose penetrant lube. So as soon as I'm done washing them, spray down all the chains real good, keeps them from rusting, and then you know, either I just got this crystal clear chain lube. I haven't tried this one yet. Usually I just use the chain wax, but I never have an issue with chains. Sometimes I even forget to use the wax on it. I just use this other spray, and you know, no issue. I've never broken a chain, thankfully. I'm sure the day will come. K&N, I use all K&N air filters, so I use this cleaner. Although I recently was talking to Rob Selby, and he told me that he was told by a very good source from K&N that not to use the cleaner. And if you run an outerwears, a lot of times you don't need it because the outerwears keeps all the junk out. So he said just knock any dust off and re-lube it, because what happens is the cleaner actually mats down the hairs, the fibers in the filter, and even when it dries, they won't come back. So you start to get little pinholes throughout. And if you hold it up to a light, if it's an older air filter that's been cleaned a lot, you'll see it. So I started doing that, but the outerwears catches most of it, so you know, I don't really see an issue. When I wash it, I usually, if it's a really muddy race, I'll leave them on the trailer, go to the car wash, spend the $8, pre-wash them just because I don't want all mud outside my shop here, and then I'll bring them back and use my pressure washer and detail them. You know, go over them with the pressure washer, get all that loose stuff off, and when they're pretty clean, then I use the Slick Off Road Wash with the spray applicator. And you know, at first I was skeptical about this stuff, but I tried it, and as long as you don't let it dry on there, and if it's a hot sunny day it'll start to dry, so just spray some more on it, let it on there for like a solid 10 minutes and rinse it off, and it literally, it's like a degreaser. I had some premix that spilled out over my tank because the seal wasn't good, and the tank was just a mess, all oil and everything, and I just sprayed that on, let it sit, rinsed it off, and it was clean. I didn't have to touch it after that. So I was pretty impressed by that. And then, you know, Fast Orange, I go through this. I have a big jug in here. I keep this in my gear bag because there's nothing better, really. I mean, there might be, but you know, pick it up anywhere and gets that grease and dirt right off. So that's pretty much all the fluids I use in my bikes. And again, you know, use whatever you want. I've been running this stuff since last January. Never had an issue. I do change my oil after every race, and you know, a lot of guys let the oil run for a while. You got to remember, especially you know, in both the 2-stroke and the 4-stroke on the clutch side, those clutch plates are getting eaten up, and all that dust and fiber is going into your oil, and that's an abrasive. So it's just going to keep getting thicker and thicker and wear away to other parts. So you know, it's just cheap insurance. I buy this stuff by the case now from Amazon. It's a lot cheaper when you buy a 12-pack of it. And yeah, just, in fact, I have to change all the oil today from last race. But you know, don't let that oil in there for 50 hours. It's not good. So I think that's it for now. I don't think there's any other liquids that I use, but wanted to get this one out there. I got a couple of that I'll probably shoot today and get them out. But everybody have a great weekend, and see you on the next video. Thanks.